My name is Justin van der Hooft, and with my team, we are embedded in the Bioinformatics group here at the Wageningen University of Research. And today, I will highlight part of the portfolio that we work on within the context of computational metabolomics workflows. And as you can see on the slide, there's a bunch of tools that we have been worked on over the past 6 years. And today, I will highlight two more recent ones, Fermo and msFeaST. So the title of the talk is linking your research question to relevant metabolite features in untargeted metabolomics, or non-targeted, or wide screening, whatever you prefer to say. And the reason behind this is that usually when we start to do metabolomics research, we have questions, and then we do the data collection, acquisition, sample collection, acquisition, and then we start to do the analysis. And then at some point we end up with features, and then we are asked, like, okay, in how far are they actually relevant for our question? And today I will try to convince you that we are starting to build the tools that can merge this linking to the research questions to an earlier stage already during the analysis. So I hope you can save some time and sooner focus on what is relevant for you within the context of all the features that you obtain. It's good to know that I will discuss metabolomics mainly as a phenotyping tool. So for example, to study natural extracts. We typically do that now these days with liquid chromatography linked to mass spectrometry, and oftentimes also we do tandem MS or mass or mass fragmentation to obtain fragmentation spectra that then can be used to organize the data. But then we end up usually with a big question mark, as in, yeah, which sample, which features do we need to study? So to put it in a bit more context and a bit more detail, we start from a chemical extract, then we can run the mass spectrometer in a non-targeted mode, where we do mostly in metabolomics data-dependent acquisition. So we collect a lot of msFeaST spectra based on the masses that are entering the mass spec. We end up with a lot of msFeaST spectra. Then we can use computational metabolomics workflows to, for example, compare all the spectra to each other and also to the libraries. We can compute scores based on similar fragments. We can decide to connect spectra or features where we deem them sufficient similar to each other based on their spectra. And when we do that, we can also start to construct networks or molecular networks, as the field is typically calling them these days. Mass spectral networks, you could also call them. And in there, we can start to recognize groups of molecules that are more interlinked than others. We call them molecular families of chemically related metabolites. Of course, that is under the assumption that chemical related metabolites share sufficient spectral similarity to be grouped. That's all nice. However, it doesn't necessarily answer the questions which samples are important and which features in your samples are important. So the work I will be showing today is not done by myself alone. We are the Computational Metabolomics team in Wageningen. So over here you see quite a recent picture. There's a bunch of PhD students, always a few master students, and we have several postdocs that work on various projects. Today I will highlight the work of Mitja Zaduk and of Kevin Mildau, who both worked on tools that help to link your research question to the features. Also, I want to stress that Marbles in the EU project was used, the funding was used to develop Fermo. So we can discuss a lot about the various aspects of metabolomics workflows, and with my team, we do not cover everything. That will be too much. So I highlight here the key areas that we work on this slide to get you an idea of where we are in that pipeline when I talk about the prioritization tools. So when we consider a researcher and her data, then one of the first steps of roadblocks to overcome is how to organize the ever-increasing amounts of data, not only from the experiment, but also all the public data, and how to create the links that are needed to kind of get to the insights. Then the prioritization. So how do I know what is relevant? How do I know which samples and features are of most interest for me? And then in untargeted metabolomics, annotation is and will probably be one of the main attention points and focus points for the foreseeable future, as many of the features we see, we still need to annotate. Be it artifacts, but also like there's still a lot of unknown metabolites out there. And also there, our team is still working on strategies to help to get the annotation efficiency up. And then when these three roadblocks are passed, we hope that the researcher gets to more insights about their data. Today, I will show some examples based on some case study data that was kindly made available by Soliman Khatib, who did his sabbatical in my team 2 years ago. And he brought with him data from 2 edible mushrooms, Perichium and Pleurotus. Pleurotus, you will likely have eaten at least once in your life. It's like the oesterswam in Dutch, king oyster mushroom. And both mushrooms grow on substrate to produce them. And the aim of the study was to investigate what if we add this olive meal solid waste, which is available quite a bit. What if we add it to the substrate? What happens to the mushrooms? Of course, you would hope that they remain eatable. And then if so, it would be nice to use this waste stream as part to grow food, as it would also be quite sustainable. However, it is of course important to check that the specialized metabolome of these mushrooms does not change in the directions that are, not so beneficial for us. I'm skipping quite some steps, but this is one of the networks where metabolite features or mass features from both of the mushrooms are combined in one molecular network. And what we can see is we have many, many nodes or mass features, and we also have quite a substantial number of molecular families. You can see there's some gray smears in the plot. Well, that's all the nodes that have some annotation from the library. So first of all, what we can see is that these library annotations are very concentrated in several families, and that kind of strengthens our hypothesis that we connect similar spectra, because if one spectrum has a match to the library, then it's also more likely that the neighboring spectra has a match to the library or even to the same library spectrum if the spectra are quite similar. This strengthens our belief that the molecular network is organizing the spectra as we want, and also hopefully that it connects chemically related metabolites based on the spectra. However, as you can hopefully agree, it's a lot of nodes. So one way to reduce that number is to do some pre-processing, to do peak picking, to kind of create a feature quantification table, in this case, using the software msFeaST. Then we see that the number of nodes is reduced to 4,500. So this is again coming from both of the mushrooms. Still, we have plenty of molecular families and plenty of features to look at. However, now we also have all the quantification information that we will also use for both of the tools I will highlight. And then one additional step we could do is to apply tools like Molten Enhancer or others like Canopus to infer chemical information about the features, in this case, the chemical compound class. Each color is here a chemical compound class that we predict the molecular families to be. And based on your own research interests, you can now start to focus on particular parts of the network or ignore part of the network. So that is already a form of prioritization. So how to link metabolite features to your research question? I think many of you have used Google Maps at least once in your life. And if you remember using that, then maybe you didn't realize, but effectively you're using a multi-layered information source because there's different layers of information that is glued together and that you can scroll through in an interactive way. So the streets, parcels, elevation information, how the land is used, etc., etc. It's all combined in this one view. Of course, it's not the real world, but it's kind of a pretty good approximation of the real world. And now let's jump to the metabolomic situation, right? We have our data, and now we want to add information layers to it to browse through it and more quickly find what is relevant for us. So let's keep that in mind, and let's investigate how we can use statistics and bioactivity information to do that. I think some of you may have seen molecular networks in literature, presentations, conferences, and you may have thought already, yeah, but hang on, Justin, it is possible to kind of show information on these networks. And of course, molecular networking is a great way starting to organize your data, and you can also color the nodes, change the shape of the nodes in networking programs like Cytoscape to kind of show information in a static way, right? Over here you see, for example, that intensities of the features across the different sample types. So we have the fruiting body of the mushrooms and also the spent medium substrate of the mushrooms and also the blank medium substrate. So we can quickly check whether or not the metabolite features are most likely to be biological, which I think all of them, as you may already have seen in this particular group of metabolite features are, because there's hardly any yellow. But other than that, it already starts to become more difficult to find information from a plot like this. Of course, if you have some pre-knowledge, you can start to investigate. You could also choose to do some statistical tests and somehow plot them or use them to color the nodes as well. But as you can imagine, it also becomes quite a dense job to do this for 4,000 nodes. Then I would like to remind you of how we can also envision this group of molecules or features. It's almost like a pathway, right? And I'm assuming many of you heard about pathway analysis, and this is an example from a paper by Cecilia Wieder et al., where they investigate various pathway analysis in metabolomics. And in the same year, people in Glasgow that I am collaborating with developed Pulse as a means to connect the molecular networking that I just explained to a pathway analysis, by basically not only considering the log-fold changes of one feature at a time, but all the features that are part of one group. And this is almost like pathway analysis, because in pathway analysis, we also do that, right? We consider all the elements or compounds of the pathway in our statistical tests. And that concept we will also see back today. So instead of only looking and concentrating on one feature at a time, we do it at the group level. Remember Google Maps? Well, here we have our chemical map now. So we move away a little bit from the networking approach to more chemistry-aware mapping. So this is the foundation of the Google Maps for chemistry, so to speak. Now we consider the mushroom Pleurotus, and we can see that we obtained nearly 2,000 features for this particular mushroom, but still, now it's not clear where we would start, right? Say that our question would be, how does this mushroom differ from the Heritium mushroom? Which features are mostly unique to Pleurotus? Then we would need some statistical information to map on top of this map. So it's almost like if you imagine if you ever had a buffet style dinner, and I had several, then it's always a tough choice where to start, right? And there's different information layers that I use to do so. How hungry am I? How many times the buffet will be changed and new things are coming in? What smells good? What looks good? And you usually then also prioritize that yourself. Keep that in mind. And with that in mind, with postdoc Kevin Mildau, we developed msFeaST as a tool to help you to guide and navigate to the chemistry in your untargeted metabolomics data. First of all, the tool clusters the features in the map so that we can use them as a feature set or group, much like the molecular families that I showed. But now not through the networking approach, but through a clustering approach directly on the similarity matrix of the features. And we can use these clusters as a proxy for pathways or analogs, so you wish. And we can also do global test statistics at the level of these feature sets. So we can see which clusters are more connected to your research question, more relevant for it. The tool comes with a dashboard, an interactive dashboard, so that you can quickly study where in this dashboard the things are happening that are relevant for you. You can also use different questions or statistical tests and one by one check which areas in your chemical space or map are relevant. Not only that, so the features are also drawn in a particular way. So here the size of the features is proportional to the log fold change. And then you can start to select the features that you think are relevant and study them more in detail, as you can see here. And also then what you can see are now links to other features. And that is, if you would have used networking, to which other features would it network? And this is also a way to check how interconnected the features are locally in this chemical map, and if that makes sense to you. That is msFeaST, so linking the statistics to your features, and in that way guiding you to where it happens for you. The other part that I wanted to highlight is the work by Mitja Sadok, a postdoc in the group, who was working at the Marbles EU project, and he developed Fermo. Fermo is a tool that facilitates the prioritization process, but now by connecting the data to bioactivity data. So it automatically integrates the LC-MS MS information, phenotypic or bioactivity information. It can also read in libraries to do the annotations. You can also give it specific grouping information, for example, about different growth media used. And finally, a more recent addition is that it can also start to use information from genome mining. So there's a convenient dashboard visualization. You see on the screen already a pseudochromatogram drawn from the feature quantification table, in this case produced by msFeaST. And you can click on there and it automatically links with the network view you see below. You will have automatically calculated phenotype and bioactivity scores that help you with the prioritization. And in that way, you can do fast filtering and start to do hypothesis formulation. So version 1 is coming out this month. So the core, the functionality is already out. And Mitja and Hannah are working hard on getting the GUI also fully up to speed and out. And then people can also use the tool to start to play with online. And as soon as they're convinced, they can also install it locally and apply it on larger data sets. So how does it work in action? So here we have an example for the Erythrium, and we see that we have nearly 3,000 features. Now the question is, which features are affected by this solid olive waste that was added to the growth medium? First, we see all the features, but we can already see that if I color the features yellow that are also found in the substrate medium blank, then there's a lot of yellow there. So they are unlikely to be biological, so we can remove them. So now we have only the features in the fruiting body that are present at 80% olive waste. And now we can also do another round of selection where we only select the features that are minimum twofold higher in the fruiting body with 80% olive waste over the fruiting body with only 0% olive waste. Now you can see that we are only left, well, with at least much less features. And now the question is, of course, does it make sense? Well, Soliman and colleagues drew out some of these features. And here you see an overview of their peak areas across the 4 different conditions: 0% added, 33%, 60%, and 80% added olive waste. And you can see that all of them show an upward trend. some the first one more linear, and the final two ones in a kind of different reaction. However, all of them indeed go up at 80% added olive waste. Then, as I already said, Fermo also has some annotation modules. So it can do library matching, it can do analog search using the msFeaST program, and also using MS2 query that I won't have time today to further explain. But you can see that each of these features got an annotation with a decent score that Soliman is now following up on. So you have seen how we can use statistics and also how we can use bioactivity to overlay on your untargeted metabolomics profiles to get towards a more Google Maps style experience where you can more quickly browse to the relevant parts of the metabolome that you measured. So I always do a call to action. So also this time, sharing is caring. A lot of the tools that we are developing, including these ones, cannot be made without sharing your smiles and also your spectra. And also, if you work in metabolomics and in genomics, you will recognize loads of the resources on this display. So please consider sharing your data if you can, and in a way that the community can grow. So in terms of outlook to the future, both these tools are still in development. So please consider giving them a try. Please give us input to let us know if it works for you, and or if you have any feature requests or you stumble across bugs, then we also like to hear that. Well, anyway, it's good for us to know it so we can consider how to continue the development. And based on what I presented today and also what all the developments that I see elsewhere in the field, I think the future of untargeted metabolomics is very bright, and that the tool set will grow in the years to come. And I hope that it will also unlock metabolomics as the phenotyping tool that it was founded for, let's say 15, 20 years ago. And if I see myself all the developments from when I started as a PhD student to now, I think that is a testament of how the field is now rapidly gaining traction and growing in confidence in terms of what it can study and what it can quickly annotate and prioritize. So, and with that, I want to thank you for your attention, and I'm open for questions.